There is land in the middle of the desert where there is no river but gold flows underground, where the past of thousands of years and the future of science fiction coexist. And don't be so quick to believe what you hear about the land of oil. Because the truth about Saudi Arabia is more strange and mysterious than any science fiction movie you've ever seen. People often say that the Middle East is the cradle of human civilization. But perhaps Saudi Arabia is the place that holds secrets that can change both history and the future. Saudi Arabia is the 12th largest country on Earth, larger than France, Spain, and the United Kingdom combined. Yet, it holds one of the most perplexing geographical records in the world. It is the largest nation on the planet without a single natural river. Look at a map. The entire country is crossed not by flowing rivers, but by wadis, dry valleys carved by ancient floods. Silent most of the year, only springing to life when rare storms sweep across the desert. It is a landscape devoid of eternal rivers, the freshwater veins that have often nurtured great civilizations. So, how does a kingdom this vast survive? The answer lies in large-scale engineering. Saudi Arabia is turning to the ocean, converting salt water into the fresh water essential for life. Most of the nation's water comes from massive desalination plants, some of the largest and most advanced on Earth, where seawater from the Red Sea and the Arabian Gulf is transformed into drinkable fresh water at staggering cost. The rest is drawn from deep aquifers hidden far beneath the sand, remnants of ancient lakes that vanished thousands of years ago. However, long before these aquifers were tapped, this barren surface hid a huge treasure trove. Do you believe that the legendary treasure of the Bible really exists? Hidden deep within the Arabian desert lies a place called Ma'ad, the cradle of gold. For centuries, it was whispered about in stories and scripture. Today, geologists and archaeologists believe this may be the very mine that supplied the vast wealth of King Solomon, one of the most enigmatic rulers in biblical history. What many assumed was myth is in fact a fully functioning mine. One that has been yielding precious metal for thousands of years. In ancient times, it is estimated that this site produced hundreds of tons of pure gold, fueling the prosperity and power of early Arabian civilizations. Before skyscrapers and oil fields, this desert concealed a treasure so immense that it shaped alliances, kingdoms, and legends. Ma'ad Adahab remains one of the priceless archaeological mysteries guarding the secrets of human history and the richness of geology. But gold is not the only thing of value in this land. There is a living heritage symbol that is equally revered. If you ever board a flight in the Arabian Peninsula, don't be surprised if the passenger next to you is a falcon. In Saudi Arabia, falcons are far more than pets. They are symbols of heritage, power, and prestige. Living emblems of a tradition that stretches back thousands of years. Here, elite falcons are treated with a level of respect that rivals royalty. They are issued official passports by the government, complete with identification details, allowing them to travel legally across borders. And on many airlines, including Saudia and Qatar Airways, falcons are permitted to sit inside the cabin, often occupying entire rows purchased specifically for them. Yes, in Saudi Arabia, a falcon can legitimately fly first class. It's a sight that seems almost surreal. Desert raptors perched serenely on the luxury seats in the cabin, while passengers quietly accepted it as a normal part of life in the Gulf. It's a kingdom where the familiar becomes foreign and the impossible becomes routine. And if the treatment of falcons seems strange, wait until you understand how power is exercised in this kingdom. Most countries are named after geography, empires, or ancient tribes. But Saudi Arabia is named after a family. The word Saudi comes from Al-Sa, the ruling dynasty that unified the Arabian Peninsula and established the modern kingdom. Its full name, Al-Mamlaka Al-Arabia, translates quite literally to the Arab kingdom of the House of Sound. It is one of the very few nations on earth whose identity is not defined by geography or ethnicity but by a single ruling lineage. Today the House of Saud is immense, estimated at more than 15,000 members. Yet true power, influence, and unimaginable wealth lie within a much smaller inner circle of roughly 2,000 key figures. Saudi Arabia is one of the few modern nations whose national identity derives directly from its ruler. The laws here are very strict, completely separate from the rest of the peninsula. This leads to a misunderstanding when the world equates Saudi Arabia with its neighbor Dubai. In terms of entertainment, the two countries are polar opposites. While Dubai allows alcohol to be sold in hotels, resorts, the laws here are very strict, completely separate from the rest of the peninsula. This leads to a misunderstanding when the world equates Saudi Arabia with its neighbor Dubai. In terms of entertainment, the two countries are polar opposites. While Dubai allows alcohol to be sold in hotels, resorts, and flashy clubs, Saudi Arabia absolutely does not. Don't try to find a bar or a nightclub here because they simply don't exist. Alcohol is completely banned in all forms regardless of locals, foreigners, or luxury tourists. The price to pay for possession or use of alcohol here is extremely high. From severe physical punishment, permanent expulsion to long unforgiving prison sentences. This is a rare large country in the world that has maintained this strictness until the 21st century. For decades, the kingdom had a ban that shocked the world. It was a ban on women driving, making Saudi Arabia the only place on the planet with such a law. This limitation stems from the guardianship system where major decisions such as travel, education, and for decades even driving required the approval of a male guardian. A historic barrier that was only lifted in 2018. When the ban was lifted, women across Saudi Arabia finally stepped into the driver's seat, literally and symbolically. It was a moment that marked the end of one era and the beginning of another. Since then, the change has continued to ripple through society. Women can now apply for passports on their own, start businesses without needing permission, and even serve in the military. For many, it wasn't just about driving. It was about finally having the freedom to move through their own lives on their own terms. The progress has opened a door that had been closed for generations. The next destination will be a return to the roots of the country's identity. The old town of Al-Ula. Founded around the 12th century AD, this settlement grew where life had already taken root since the Bronze Age. Passing through the narrow alleys, the town unfolds into a dense labyrinth of nearly 900 houses made of mud, brick, and stone, closely packed together to form walls that once served a protective function. The buildings lean against each other, creating shady corridors where the sound of footsteps echoes softly. This town stood along the ancient incense route, a network that once carried fragrances, spices, and ideas from India and Southeast Asia toward the Mediterranean and Egypt. Today, a large-scale restoration led by the Royal Commission for Al-Ula is carefully stabilizing the fragile earth structures, preserving their original form while giving them a new role. What was once an ancient stop for traders and pilgrims is now being transformed into a global hub for culture and art. Bridging the gap between a storied past and a visionary future. Just a few miles away, towering cliffs open the entrance to dawn, bearing witness to the historical prosperity of ancient trading empires. Dedan was here centuries earlier, rising as the capital of the Datanite kingdom in the 9th and 8th centuries BC and later as the seat of the Lionite kingdom from the 5th to the 2nd centuries BC. At its height, this was one of the most influential political forces in northwest Arabia, shaping trade, territory, and survival in the desert. The city's presence is still visible in the cliffs above the valley. High on the rock face, the lion tombs look down in silence, symbols of authority and protection. This location was intended to assert sovereignty, a symbol of power placed at the highest point to guard and oversee the entire valley. When the Nabotans later arrived and established Hijra, they inherited knowledge already embedded in the landscape, techniques of stone carving, water management, and agriculture refined by the Datanites and Lithianites over Jenner. Just below the shade of the majestic sandstone cliffs lies a stark contrast to the arid landscape of the desert. The endless green of the Al-Ula oasis. Human activity here goes back more than 200,000 years. Not because the land was easy, but because it could sustain life. Underground water channels engineered long before modern tools still guide water quietly beneath the soil. Above them grow millions of date palms, citrus trees, and aromatic herbs, filling the air with a scent that feels unexpected in the desert. Some crops became signatures of the valley. Barney dates known for their depth of flavor. Morina, valued for its oil and medicinal uses. Citrus fruits that thrive in the shade created by palm canopies. Today, the Heritage Oasis Trail traces that continuity. The path runs for nearly 2 miles, linking Alola, Old Town with Dawn. Beneath the dense foliage, the air suddenly becomes cool, the light is purified, and the rhythm of the outside world seems to slow down. Instead of the whistling whine through the rocks or the dryness of the sand, now there is only the rustling of leaves and the gentle murmur of flowing water. Life's origins lie not I. A persistent source of life that has nourished an entire region for millennia. If the oasis is the heartbeat of life, then the surrounding desert is the eternal shell that has preserved those values for millions of years. Leaving the shelter of the shade, the space suddenly opens up to an overwhelming expanse with undulating sand dunes and majestic sandstone formations. This is the soul of Alula, a pristine desert region where every grain of sand and every breeze carries within it the breath of time. Standing out against the golden sands is Elephant Rock, a solitary sandstone formation with an unmistakable shape resembling an elephant lowering its trunk to the ground. Towering at about 170 foot tall, it wasn't sculpted by human hands, only by erosion and gravity. At sunset, the rock absorbs the last light of day, shifting from gold to deep amber. After dark, subtle lighting transforms the area into an open-air desert lounge where people gather quietly beneath a sky dense with stars. The desert keeps offering variations. Rainbow Rock curves naturally through the sand, its arched form resembling a massive stone horseshoe frozen midbend. The interwoven bands of vibrant colors on the sandstone surface are the hallmarks of different geological layers, transforming the rock into a dazzling rainbow suspended in time. Under the influence of sunlight at different times of the day, this dome-like structure seems to transform with brilliant shades like a masterpiece of color coordination by Mother Nature. The grandeur of the Alula Desert lies not only in the scale of its sandstone formations, but also in the way it has preserved its beauty intact through the ages. Deep within a barren rocky valley, a colossal shimmering cube emerges like an illusion in the desert. This is Moriah, the world's largest mirrored building, a testament to the boundless creativity of humankind. In 2020, Guinness World Records recognized Moriah as the largest mirrored building in the world. Instead of obscuring the landscape, the 9,740 mirrors surrounding the building have transformed it into a reflective museum, capturing every change of light and color on the surrounding sand dunes. Moriah was built to withstand desert extremes, sandstorms, powerful winds, and dramatic temperature swings that test both materials and design. It serves as a cultural hub for Alula, hosting concerts, exhibitions, and performances year-round. During the Tento Winter Festival, the theater becomes a gathering place, attracting artists and audiences from all over the world. Moriah stands there like a real illusion in the heart of the Ashar Valley. Here, the giant mirror of the 21st century reflects not only the million-year-old sandstone cliffs, but also the aspirations of a land reaching out to the world. Just a short distance from the center of the valley lies Saudi Arabia's largest open-air library, Jabal Ikma. The carvings appear in multiple ancient scripts, Aramaic, Datanitic, Thutic. Each line etched by hand to record prayers, rituals, laws, names, and moments of everyday life. There isn't a single story here. Instead, it's a mosaic of beliefs and memories accumulated over centuries by the diverse communities that have traversed the valley. Standing within the canyon surrounded by inscriptions rather than blocks of stone, history seems quieter yet more direct. Jabal Ikma does not glorify power or wealth. It preserves spiritual ideals. Emerging from the narrow alleys of Alula's old town, the space suddenly brightens and expands endlessly to Hijra, Saudi Arabia's first UNESCO World Heritage Site. Amidst the tranquil desert landscape, this place preserves the intact traces of an ancient civilization, completely isolated from the turmoil of the modern world. Hijra houses 111 ancient tombs of the Naboshan civilization, each showcasing precise craftsmanship. Hijra remains untouched by modern urban development. The tranquility that envelopes the area gives the impression that the desert itself has become a protective shield preserving the heritage of the past. The most prominent feature of the complex is Qasr al-Farid, a masterpiece of architecture carved from a single block of sandstone. The contrast between its perfect exterior and its unfinished interior poses a significant question for posterity. Construction here has mysteriously come to a halt. This unfinished state transforms Kaiser Alpharad into a hanging structure where the missing final details leave the most striking impression. In Hegra, history remains as pristine as it was in the beginning with the enduring presence of the desert. Leaving behind the majestic wonders of Alula, the landscape undergoes a spectacular transformation upon reaching Rub al-Khali, also known as the Empty Desert. As the world's largest continuous body of sand, this vast wilderness covers more than 1/4 of the Arabian Peninsula, a territory larger than the entire country of France. While Alula is formed by towering rock formations, the Empty Desert is a kingdom of pristine white sand, a sea of dunes stretching endlessly towards the horizon. Here the dunes swell to heights of 250 m, matching the stature of the Eiffel Tower, shrouding the land in a silence so absolute. The sand's color changes from brilliant yellow to deep burnt orange, created by feldspar and iron oxides in sunlight. These sand dunes never stand still. They move gently and gracefully due to the influence of the wind. In the height of summer, temperatures can soar beyond 55 degrees Celsius. And in the most remote reaches, the earth has remained parched without a single drop of rain for over 10 years. Yet beneath this harsh, sun-drenched surface lies a world of mystery. Legend tells of the lost city of Ubar, the Atlantis of the sands, a prosperous civilization said to have been swallowed by the desert as a divine reckoning. But sand doesn't just bury the past of ancient times. It's also the lifeblood of the modern world. Today, the Empty Quarter serves as a global energy powerhouse, home to massive oil and gas reserves, most notably the Shaba oil field operated by Aramco. Far beyond the concept of a desolate wasteland, Empty Quarter exists as a majestic geological masterpiece where time seems to stand still on each smooth sand dune. Nestled deep within the Harat Kish volcanic plateau, Waba crater is one of Saudi Arabia's most impressive natural wonders, yet not widely known. This colossal crater is the result of a violent underground steam explosion, creating a vast basin on a scale that is sure to overwhelm any traveler. It is stretching nearly 1.4 miles across and dropping more than 800 feet straight down. At the bottom, the crater floor turns stark white. A thick crust of crystallized salt spreads across the basin, sharply contrasting with the dark volcanic rock that forms the walls above. This striking contrast makes Waba crater appear like a slice from another planet. A beauty that is both surreal and serene. Nestled amidst a land of fire and ash lies Jabal Abayad, one of the world's rare white volcanoes with its silvery white color contrasting sharply with the surrounding black lava sea. It appears like a vast tranquil ink painting. This is the result of volcanic ash rich in acidic minerals that weathered into white stone over time. Nearby, Jabal Beta mirrors the same light tone while frozen rivers of black lava cut through the landscape between them. If you still think Saudi Arabia is just a kingdom of heat and dust, then the Fifa Mountains will completely change that perception. Dubbed the Switzerland of Arabia, this region boasts breathtaking landscapes with lush green peaks rising from the heart of the peninsula. Peaks reach roughly 8,500 feet above sea level, high enough to cool the air year-round. Even in summer, clouds drift low across the slopes and morning mist settles into the valleys. Many are built as round stone towers constructed from local sandstone and set directly into the slope. Their shape resists strong winds and opens wide views across the valleys below. Steep mountain sides have been carved into thousands of terrace fields planted with coffee and corn.